if I look at yesterday, what the entire goal, focus of yesterday was really this, okay? I really wanted all of you guys to start thinking a lot about these 4 questions, okay? We talked about it a lot. Who is the actual person that you want to be working with? Who's your dream client? Second is, where are those people at? Okay? Then we talked about the bait you need to go in to get them. And the last is where you want to take them. We talked about the value ladder and everything else like that. So that was kind of what we covered yesterday. Now today, this is like my favorite part of this whole business, is everything we're talking about today. And I'm fired up. Like if you were to, when we do like our personal things where people hire us to come to our office and like help us build out their business, this is what I spend most of the time with. They'll come in and they'll be like, Russell, here's what I got. And they lay down all their stuff. And then I get out, we have a wall in our office. It's just pure whiteboard. We bought this whiteboard paint, just painted it up. And we sit down for hours and we just map out their funnel. It's my favorite part of this entire business. And so we're gonna go through today, and during the process, you're gonna learn kind of the thought process I go through. And I'm gonna show you guys all the funnels that we do, and then you're gonna have, hopefully by the end, have the skill set to be able to kind of map out and create the funnel that's the right one for you guys, for each of your individual businesses. So it should be kind of fun. And it's going to go a lot more into that bait part. But if you look at, like, as a whole, what today is going to be about, it's this right here. This is kind of the core funnel, right? We talked about a lot of pieces yesterday. We got 3 types of traffic: traffic you control, traffic you don't control, and traffic that you own. Okay, traffic control, you're putting through squeeze page. Don't control, it's going through some kind of blog. There's the email sequence happening here, and then you have your offer here, your value ladder, your continuity. Okay, now this piece right here, your squeeze page, your offer, your value, your continuity. This stuff right here, this picture is very generic, but that's your funnel right here. So I'm going to show you guys a whole bunch of ways, because what this looks like can be different for every single business. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys kind of the core ones that we do and that we use, and you guys can model those and use them over and over again. So today is going to be a lot of kind of going through this kind of stuff. So I'm excited. Okay. So I'm just going to jump right in. We're going to start with the first part, which is a lot of the psychology of a funnel. And I wish that when I first got started, somebody would have showed me this stuff. I didn't ever know this. When I first got started, my very first, I had a couple first products. My potato gun product was one of my first ones. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But my first product I really put a lot of effort in was this little software product called Zip Brander. And I remember when I first did it, all I did is, I think I told you yesterday, I saw all of Arm & Morin's software products. I'm like, I'm going to model it exactly the same. So I set up a website, looked exactly the same as his. It had his little header graphic right here, had like an e-cover box, had my brand name, had a headline, had some text, had a headline. And then he charged his $67, so I charged $67. I just copied it exactly. And that was my whole business, right? Now, for most of us, when you're online, you're looking at what your competitors are doing, looking at what people are doing, and you're going out there, you see this part of their business, right? You're like, oh, I know what they're doing. That's their business. But the reality, when you start, when you think about it, like the part you're seeing is this thing right here, right? That's the part that's visible that most people are seeing. But I'm sure you guys have heard this a million times. It's the tip of the iceberg. All the stuff down here is happening that's behind the scenes that you don't even know is happening. Okay, so that's my job for today, is kind of demystify all that to show you guys all of this. Because a lot of times you can go to a company and just kind of knock off and do what they do, and you look exactly the same as theirs, and you start driving traffic, you're like, how come I can't make money with this? And they can. Okay, the problem is that you're doing this part, you're doing the tip of the iceberg, you're doing the stuff that they can see. All the other stuff, all the underground hidden stuff that's happening that makes this offer actually work, most of you guys don't know what that is. So that's kind of the job today, is to really kind of explain and show you guys the rest of the iceberg. Because when you understand this, now you've got a real business. That's where you can make your big money. Okay. So for Zip Brander, we didn't do all this for that, but for other products, there are all these other things we learned, right? We learned that after somebody buys things, what can we do? There's other pages, other steps you can do to make money. We also learned there's things you can do before the page that increases how much money you make. And then there's things before that page, and there's all these different phases that you take somebody through that all have incremental changes that increase how much money you make on the funnel as a whole. And so what I'm going to walk you guys through is basically there are 7 phases that I take somebody through in my funnel. Okay, we're going to go through from 1 to 7, and hopefully at the end you guys will understand what all of these pieces are, why they're important. And so that's the first part here. And the second part of this, I'm actually going to go back and, because right now I'm showing you guys the conceptual part, and the next I'm going to show you guys the actual the building blocks. So for this phase, here's Here's the 7 types of pages I use for that. Pick whichever one you want, and then the second one and the third one, okay? So the first one will be more conceptual, next will be very tangible. You guys can look exactly and just model and use it. So this is the graphic that kind of walks you guys through the seven phases. So step number 1 in this funnel, I call it traffic temperature. And I wish somebody would explain this to me when I first got started because it took me a long time to understand it. Okay, this is a quote from Gene Schwartz that's really, really important that ties into this traffic temperature stuff. So this is what he said. Gene Schwartz is one of the early marketing copywriter guys from the early part of the century. He was just a brilliant guy. He said, if your prospect is aware of your product and realizes that it can satisfy his desire, your headline starts with your product. If he's not yet aware of your product, but only of the desire itself, your headline starts with the desire. If he is not yet aware of what he really seeks, but is concerned only with the general problem, your headline starts with that problem and crystallizes it into a specific need. Okay? So let me explain that. There's a level of awareness for everybody in here, right? When you first got online, most of you guys probably got online, you're like, I want to make money. Right? That was the first thing. That was aware. All you knew is I wanted to make money. Okay? And so your level of awareness is there's benefit. There's this thing I want. I know I need it. Okay? As you get online for a while, you start learning some stuff. You become more aware and more aware. And somewhere online, you're like, man, I need to figure out how to set up a website. Okay? You're more aware than you were before. That's why you got a website. You're like, I got a website. I got to figure out how in the world to use WordPress. Okay? You're even more aware. And then you figure out, I got to figure out how to drive traffic. You become more and more aware, right? Every single market has that process happening. Okay, so cold traffic is somebody who has no idea what they need. They just want this benefit. I want to make money. I want to lose weight. Okay, warm traffic is the person in the middle who knows kind of some stuff and they're more aware of it. And hot traffic is the person who's like, I bought 1,000 internet marketing courses. I want the next one because I know this is the next thing, right? I'm in shape. I got a 6-pack. I'm awesome, but I want to take it to the next level. Like that's the hot person. Okay, so if you look at this, we've got here's our hot. Here's our cold. On this side, you've got most aware, and back here. So you got most aware, then you got product aware, then you've got solution aware, problem aware, and then they're unaware. Okay, does that make sense? So the cold traffic starts with unaware. Like I don't even know that I want to make money. I'm just here. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk a lot about that also tomorrow when we go into inception, understanding how you sell people. But it starts with traffic because the place I'm going to take somebody is going to be completely different depending on where they are in the awareness cycle. Okay. For example, if I go to somebody and they, like I go to a joint venture partner and they've already got a list of prospects that have been on their list for a year. They've been selling them internet marketing stuff. These people are very, very aware. So the page I'm going to drive those people to is going to be way different than the page I'm going to drive somebody who has never heard of internet marketing before ever. That makes sense? Okay. Most people don't understand that. They create this page and it's like, it looks awesome. This is what everyone else's page looks like. And then they send it to the wrong temperature of traffic and it doesn't convert. And like, why didn't that work? You have to understand that that people have different pages for different situations. Okay. So if you know that your primary way of making sales is going to be joint venture partners, right? Joint venture partners usually have their own list. It's going to be a hot list. The kind of pages you are going to do are very product specific. Okay? If you go into and you're buying solo ads, for example, like to a news site where people aren't that aware, they're not like product aware. So I can't say like, hey, buy my new product. It's called .com secrets, whatever. They're more solution aware. Then my headline and my copy, my page, all that kind of stuff is going to be tied into something more like discover how to build your business. Okay, they don't know .com secrets is. It doesn't help them at all. But they know they got a business. They need to make it better. So I'm going to be more solution aware. And then if they have a problem, cold traffic is like, you're broke. Want to learn how to make money? Does that make sense? So that's what I'm talking about with traffic temperature. So you have to understand that when you're creating your pages. So I like to think about it first. Like when I'm starting this, where's my traffic going to be coming from? And I'm going to create my initial funnel, my initial landing page based on that. Okay? So if you have your own email list, typically, and they know you and you're building a new funnel for your own list, you're probably going to be more on the product aware stuff. Here's my new product coming out. Here's the new thing. Okay? If you're going on Facebook, my guess is probably more solution aware. If you're targeting, like let's say I've got my green drink product and going, and I'm going to be advertising on all these natural health sites. They might not know my product yet, but they're very solution aware. So let me show you this new solution on how I do whatever it is. And then if it's some like I'm just spamming the whole world, then you come back to just problem aware, like, hey, you're overweight, or hey, you're not healthy, or whatever it might be. Okay? So that's the first part, is understanding the traffic temperature. All right? Okay, now after you understand that, the next is something we call the pre-frame bridge. Okay? The pre-frame, interestingly enough, as little as this is probably one of, if not the most important parts of the entire funnel. The first time I ever learned this and saw it in action, I got asked to speak at Armin Morin's big seminar, back when he was doing his big seminar. And before the event, he kind of pulled me aside and he said, how do you want me to introduce you? And I was like, I don't know, just whatever. And then he said, I got to tell you something. He's like, the most important part of your entire presentation is how I introduce you. He's like, you will either make sales or you're not going to make sales depending on how I introduce you. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, just trust me. He's like, as you keep continuing on as a speaker, you'll find out that however you're pre-framed, however you're pre-positioned, when you step up there on stage, has 100% to do with how much you're going to sell in the back of the room. So I was like, all right. So he went up there and he made me, like, talk me up, made me sound awesome. I came up there, did my presentation, I killed it, made a bunch of money. And then I got asked to speak at Bill Glazer's event. And Bill's one of my, like, he's like my marketing dad. Like, he's one of my favorite people in the world. But if you ever seen Bill speak, he's very dry and very like, hey, this is Russell, he's awesome. Russell, come on up. So I come on up, and I'm all excited, I'm walking around, and the audience is like half asleep, and I start doing my thing, and I'm teaching, I'm giving it like all I got, and nobody's really responding to me, and I'm trying to get them all excited. I'm just like, I do my sell at the end, and like everyone's still sitting there. I'm just like, come on, guys, that was awesome. And like, has anyone here done stage presentations before? Okay, the worst feeling on planet Earth, like I would rather get run over by a car than you do your pitch, and you look around and nobody budges, and you're like, I have to walk through all of you to get to the back now. And everybody's looking back to see if anyone else is moving, and no, it's horrible. And I was like, crap, this is embarrassing. I was like just devastated. So then Bill asked me next year to come speak again for him. I'm like, I don't know, like if I want to. Like, it's a huge opportunity, but I don't know if I want to speak again. And all of a sudden, I remembered in my head what Armin had said. You gotta make sure your pre-frame is good. And I said, well, I know Bill's never going to be able to pre-frame me good, so I have an idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have, and between that presentation and the next, I had spoken at Tony Robbins' event. And Tony, when he introduces you, it's like, people are going nuts. Like, it's the craziest thing in the world. So I had this videotape of Tony introducing me. And so I was like, I have an idea. I'm going to make a video that has a whole bunch of testimonials of people. Zan was in there, a couple other people, their testimonials. And at the end of it, I'm going to have Tony Robbins, like a video of him introducing me and getting everybody standing up and clapping and screaming. And so when I came to Bill, I was like, hey, this is my only request. I don't want you to introduce me. I want you to introduce a video about me. He's like, why? I'm like, I don't know, just try it out. So he's like kind of grumpy and like, all right, whatever. So he gets up there, he's like, our next speaker wants me to show you a video about him. And he like goes off, pushes play, and the lights go down. And all of a sudden this video comes up, and I got testimony, boom, 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 music, entertainment, like all this stuff. And then all of a sudden Tony Robbins comes out. And everyone get your hands up for Russell Brunson. And he starts clapping, and the music starts pumping, and everybody in the audience is on their feet cheering and screaming. I run down, I come on that stage, and like I was just like, this is awesome. And I spoke, everyone was captivated. When I sold at the end, we crushed it. Okay? So the pre-frame has so much to do when you're speaking, but it has so much to do in all parts of your business. Okay? I'll give you a couple more examples. Another really cool story that helped me to understand this principle. There's a book called Sway. Has anyone read the book Sway? It's really, really cool. BJ, a couple of you guys read it. One of the stories he talks about in there is they were testing this concept of pre-framing and how it alters the selling process, or how it alters people's perceptions. And they went into a college class with like 300 students or so, and they came in and said, hey, your teacher's not here today, but we have a substitute teacher. But before he comes in to teach you, we wanted to pass out a biography so you can just kind of know a little bit about who he is. And so they took this paper and they had a paragraph about, hey, it's Mr. So-and-so, he did this, what kind of his credentials. And the very last sentence said, a lot of people consider Mr. So-and-so a warm teacher. And then that was what half of the biography said. And the other half of the biography said, a lot of people consider Mr. So-and-so to be a very cold teacher. Every other word was exactly the same. One said he was warm, one said he was cold. Handed out these things out to everybody. They all read it, handed them back in, and they tracked who got which ones. And then the teacher came in, and he did his 90-minute presentation and taught us stuff. And then he left, and the person came back and said, hey, we want you to survey him really quick on his teaching style, what you guys thought. So they surveyed everyone in the audience, and they matched it with what pre-frame, which biography they had read ahead of time. And it was interesting, like all of the people that said he was warm was like, man, he was a great teacher. He's very empathetic. I feel like he really cared about me as a student. and just I think he's a great teacher. And then he took all the people who had said he was cold, and he's like, that guy was really just kind of put me off. I felt like he was talking down to me. I didn't like the entire experience. I don't think he'd be a good teacher. I would not recommend him. It's interesting how one little word can change and shift so much. Think about when you meet a girl. You go up to a girl and you're like, hey, how you going? My name's Russell. Or if your buddy's like, or a girlfriend or something introduces you, it changes the whole thing, right? So pre-frames are hugely important. And we're talking about pre-frame right here from this step in the process. But this pre-framing works. The biggest spot is right here, but I want to specify that this is happening at every single step in this process as well. Okay, I'm using pre-framing before I do almost anything I do. I'm trying to do some kind of pre-frame. Okay, because if I can affect that frame that somebody's going to walk through before they get to me, it's going to change the entire experience afterwards. Okay, yeah. So pre-framing is huge. I remember another thing. Mark Joyner is one of my very first mentors ever, and I didn't get it when he told me this, when I heard this the first time. But he was talking about, I remember he said, do you think all clicks on the internet are created equal? And I thought about that. I said, I'm sure there's different sources are better or worse, but I think for the most part, they're people, right? They're just people clicking on your ad. Like, I don't think there's that big of a difference between what's happening. And he came back and said, no, all clicks are not created equal. He said, for example, think about if there was an ad out there and it said, Russell Brunson is a scam artist. He stole my money. I went bankrupt because of him. Every word of advice he ever gave me was wrong, and I hope he dies. Click here to see his new product. Okay? And then there's an ad that says, Russell Brunson's amazing. He changed my life. Everything he's taught me, it's like the Midas touch. Everything I do now turns to gold, and I owe it all to Russell. Click here. Same click, same person. What's going to happen on the next page? Okay? So these pre-framing things are crazy important. One good example of just how stupid and how little a pre-frame is, but how big of an impact. In the .com Secrets Labs book, we shared this study, but we had a squeeze page. And the squeeze page at the top had like 3 steps. Step 1, put your email. Step 2, or step 1, I can't remember. Step 1 was like do something, or get started, access. And step 3, it said finish. Okay, so just one word was finish. And so we were testing that versus step 3 saying get started. So one said get started. One said finish. F-I-N-I-S-H. Anyway, finish. Right? And so we start driving traffic through here. And what's cool is when you do testing the right way, you can see your test, what happens to the person all the way throughout the sales funnel. And so what we did, we started running tests here. And what we found is by having the word finish here, it increased our conversion rate on our landing page. I was like, how cool is that? Like, it was so cool. We were saying, like, when people see the third step is finished, I'm done, that increased our conversion. So we're like all excited. We had like, I don't know, 23% increase in conversion, something like that. And at first we're celebrating. I'm like, cool, just kill the other one. That one's not going to work anymore. Let's just get rid of it. And then Todd, the guy who does our testing, he's like, wait, hold on. He's like, wait, hold on. And he started looking at all the things. He's like, okay, this is interesting. He's like, it increased our conversions on the front end, but on the next page we're trying to sell him something. And he said it dramatically decreased our conversions on the next page. I was like, wait, what? And so we started looking at it, and we started thinking about it. And within a few minutes, I had this epiphany, this idea. I was like, I think the reason why, and you never know with testing, but when it said finished, people were more excited. Like, oh, cool, I'm done. So it got higher conversion rate. But in their mind, this frame had just shut. Like, okay, we're done. Sweet, I'm done. And all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, I'm going to sell you something. And they're like, wait, what? I thought I was finished. And because of that, just that little one-word frame, like, cut our conversions in half. Isn't that weird? So having it say get started, now this frame they came through, they no longer was it like get started, or now no longer was I'm finished. Now it's like let's get started. They're like, okay, I'm getting started. What's the next thing? And boom, increased conversions. One word change. Isn't that crazy? We saw very similar things in our one-time offers. I'll show you guys here in a minute. Our one-time offers used to be like, thanks so much for your order. We appreciate your business. We're shipping this thing out to you. Now, I got another special offer for you. What did I just do? I just closed this loop, right? Everything's done. It's good. Don't worry about it. I'm going to sell you the next thing. Conversion's never that good. When we changed it to, wait, before you go on, your order's not yet complete. Really quick, I want to see if you want to add this to your order at a huge discount. Okay, I kept that loop open, and the frame they came through was like, wait, I can make this better. I can do the next thing. Huge increase in conversion. So there's all these little pre-framing things you can do throughout the funnel. But right now, the biggest one, I think the biggest pre-frame is when somebody clicking on your ad to where they end up, what are they going through? What's the process they're going through? Because that's going to warm them up, cool them down, and get them to do the right thing for you. Now, Now, typically, depending on the type of traffic, the temperature of your traffic is going to depend on what your pre-frame, how extensive it needs to be. For very, very cold traffic, typically your pre-frame needs to be more. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys some examples of review sites and article sites and quizzes and stuff we do, because if they're cold, you've got to do more through this pre-frame to get them prepared to be able to buy from you. Over here, when they're somebody who loves you, trusts you, knows you, the pre-frame is usually a lot shorter because they've already built up that relationship, that bond, and so it's a lot easier. A lot of times I can even just send them, like usually the email I send out to my list is the pre-frame. Okay, where over here, I take them from an email to a page, then to my page. Okay, and I'll show you guys examples of this after we go through all 7 steps so you can see exactly the tactics behind it. But conceptually, does that make sense to you guys? Cool. All right, so that is step number 2. All right, step number 3 now. The first thing I'm trying to do when I'm driving all this traffic through my funnel, it's all about qualifying people, finding out how serious they are. Because I'm going to market and advertise people differently depending on how committed they are, right? So the very first thing, my very first goal when I'm driving this traffic through, and I want to find out of all the people I send on my website, all the 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people that come to my website, who on my website is willing to trade me their email address in exchange for information? If they're willing to trade me their email address in exchange for something else, that person's way more qualified than everybody else. Okay? Excuse me. So I take them through a step or a process that I call a squeeze page. Some people call it the landing page, but something where I'm getting their name and their email address. Okay? So if they're not willing to give me their email address, they're probably not going to be willing to give me the rest of the stuff. Okay? And so that's how we qualify our subscribers, some kind of squeeze page. I'm sure you guys have probably seen those before. If not, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of them here in a minute. And you'll see it through ClickFunnels. But the squeeze page is the first step. I'm going to take all this traffic, find out who is willing to give me their email address. Yep. The other interesting thing, this is kind of a side note, but Jeremy Shoemaker did a really cool test a little while ago. I think it's in .com Secrets Labs. But he found out after like 2 or 3 years of testing subscribers, because everyone's got a couple email addresses, right? Most of us have a couple. He started, when somebody, there's tools you can use if somebody subscribes. You can go out there and take their email address and find out if they're on Facebook and Twitter and all their social networks. But he found that somebody who used their Facebook email address, on average, would make him $80 per year. And someone that used a fake email address, or just an email address that was not tied to their Facebook account, they only averaged $1 per year. Isn't that crazy? So there's an argument there for making people opt in through Facebook email address because of the value of that person. In fact, in his company now, he was telling me that if they come in and it's not a Facebook email address, they don't even add them to the list. They just like, all right, well, they don't even care. So it's interesting. But that's my first goal. I want to qualify and find out my subscribers. Okay. Now my next goal, and this one's even more important. In fact, sometimes recently we've even a lot of times skipped a subscriber because of this. But my next goal is I want to find out of all the people coming to my site, who of these people is not just a looky-loo person, but who is willing to pull out their credit card and buy something. Okay? The person that'll do that that's the best person in the world. Okay? If you remember yesterday I talked about Dan Kennedy saying a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So I want to find out all these people I'm sending to my site as quick as humanly possible and find out who are my buyers. Because as soon as I know they're willing to pull a credit card out, I know something about them. I know that they're a buyer. And if they're a buyer, I'm going to be able to sell them a lot more stuff. Okay, and I'm probably going to market to somebody who's a buyer a lot differently than I'm going to market to somebody who's not a buyer. Okay, you guys who bought stuff from me get different sequences, different emails, different packet, different things because you raised your hand and said, Russell, I am a buyer. Awesome. Let's go sell you stuff in a different way. Okay, so we start looking at this. When someone's coming in and they're opting in, I'm going to send them an email sequence. They come in and they give me a little bit of money. They pull a credit card out. I might call them on the phone. I might send them a direct mail piece, maybe a postcard. I might do a whole bunch of different things because they've raised their hand and showed me that they're a buyer. Like I want from day number 1 for you to know the relationship is you come in and you give me money, I give you cool stuff back. So I want to set those ground rules from day 1. And if you do that, you train people from the very beginning, they're going to keep buying, keep buying, keep buying. Okay? And so I'm going to show you guys the process we use to qualify buyers, but man, that's the biggest thing. And like I said, a lot of people nowadays, they don't even worry about subscribers. I don't even want to market to subscribers anymore. I only want to do buyers. And I kind of argue both ways on that. But this is the key, qualifying buyers as quick as you can. Because as soon as you know what the buyers are, you can start doing a whole bunch of different things. Okay? Now the next step is after I know who the buyers are, I want to identify my buyers in heat. Okay, this is a totally inappropriate story, but do you guys know anything about porcupines? So a porcupine, so they say, I don't actually have a porcupine, so I'm not sure, but once a year, for about a 24-hour period of time, porcupines are in heat. And when they're in heat, they've got 24 hours to do their business as many times as they can, and then after that, they're done. Okay? I told you guys a story yesterday about my bowling experience. That night I had some pain, and I was a porcupine in heat. And for the next 20 minutes, I bought everything I could find to solve that pain. And then I disappeared. I was gone, right? But you guys, you have to understand that the people that are coming to your website, they're in pain. They're trying to get a solution solved. And so my first goal is to find out who the buyers are. My second one is I want to find out who are my buyers in heat. Who are the ones that are hyperactive buyers, okay? And these are the best ones. I'm guessing a lot of you guys are probably those hyperactive buyers. That's why you're probably here at this point, okay? So I want to find out who are my buyers in heat. Because those are the people that are not just a buyer, but they're like a great buyer, okay? They're people like me who will spend insane amounts of money. So as soon as they buy that first thing, and I want to find out who are my buyers in heat, so now I start offering them more stuff, okay? We have upsells, we have downsells, we have other things, because I want to find out who are our best buyers. Okay, when we used to have our big call center, and all we were doing was we were calling buyer leads, but we would grade our leads. So somebody who bought a front-end product, we would call that person a B lead. And somebody who bought one of the upsells, they're a hyperactive buyer. They're an A lead. The hyperactive buyers in heat right now, we're going to call them and sell them coaching as quick as humanly possible because we know that they're in pain now. In a week from now, he may not be bowling anymore. Okay, I might not be bowling anymore and I'm out of it. But right now, I'm in pain. If I were to get a call the next day from these bowling guys and like, hey man, so tell me about the game yesterday. I'm like, oh, I hate that guy. He beat me. I got a bowling coaching program. In 3 weeks from now, you're the best bowler in the world. Boom, I would have been in. If you called me a week later, I might not have been in. But I would have been in right then, right? So I want to find out who my buyers are in heat really, really quickly so I can market them differently as well. Okay, so we're all talking about segments. We've got our subscriber segments, buyer and heat segments. And we're going through all these different things, right? So far, everything I've showed you guys is all point of sale. Somebody clicks on the ad, they're going through pre-frame, subscribers, buyers, and upsells. The first 5 steps are all happening like in real time, point of sale right now. Okay? And steps number 6 and 7 are all happening after the initial sale. This is the stuff, Clint was asking me this yesterday. He was talking about like when do you bring the attractive character into this conversation with people? What's happening typically is we're driving traffic, they're going through my initial funnel, right? Here's my product, my upsell, my downsell, and then boom. So this all happened like in half an hour period of time. Now they're on my list. And this is kind of where I start introducing my attractive character. Like, hey man, thanks for joining my list. And I'm going to show you guys tomorrow, I'll show you the exact sequences we send out to people when they join your list. So you'll see exactly what emails we're sending out to build the attractive character. But that's when the attractive character starts. They've come through this initial funnel. They put a little bit of faith in. They've shown their hand as a buyer. Now I'm going to start this follow-up sequence to introduce them to the attractive character, to build that relationship. All those things that we talked about yesterday will be happening right here. And now they're here at this point. Now I'm building this relationship. My next step on number 6 is I need to age and ascend that relationship. Okay? So what just happened, the first 5 steps is, if you look in the dating world, you went out, somebody introduced you to their friend, you met her, okay, you got her phone number, you qualified her as a subscriber, you gave her a kiss, you qualified her as a buyer, she kissed you back, she's a hyperactive buyer. All right, this is a good thing, right? So now we got to age and ascend that relationship. So now what's the next steps I'm going to do with that person? Okay, now the possibilities are endless. You can do all sorts of stuff. And we'll show you tons of things we do. One thing we can do is a webinar with them. Okay, I'm going to take them on a webinar, teach them some cool stuff, and sell them stuff. Okay, another thing is I'm going to maybe do a teleseminar. Maybe have a new product I'm coming out with. A whole bunch of things you can do. Okay, if you come back to this thing right here, typically after they've gone through this funnel, they're starting to ascend. They're starting to warm up from here to here. And so now you start introducing people more directly to your product, right? We're warming that traffic up. They're building that relationship with you. You're educating them, you're training them, and you're transitioning these people up to make them more and more aware of what you can do and how you can serve them. Yeah. Okay, so this question was, how do we segment people and how do we move them from list to list? It all depends on the service you use. Different autoresponders can do that, some can't do that. But yeah, that is what happens. Somebody comes in and they subscribe. When they buy, you can move them from one list to another. Aweber lets you move people to the list. I think most of the good autoresponders nowadays allow you to move somebody from list to list based on actions. Somebody buys something, they click on something, you can move them around. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow when I actually go through the sequences we take people through, like the actual email sequences and how we do ours. But yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Okay, and so there's a bunch of different ways we age and send that relationship. But really, after they're on your list, this is the fun part. This is where it's just like every month for us, like, what should we do? Like, okay, well, let's do an invisible funnel type funnel. Okay, and I'll talk to you guys about that here before lunch. Or maybe I'm going to do like a black box type funnel to these guys. 'Cause I know them, I like them, we'll try that. Oh, or maybe I'm going to do a micro continuity funnel for these guys. Or maybe I'm going to do this one. I'm going to show you guys our 9 core funnels. But I'm always just kind of each month or every couple of weeks like, I'm going to try this one out, Because they already know me, they like me, we're on a date. I'm going to take her to the fair. We're going to go to watch a movie. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do with this person, right? As you're aging and ascending that relationship, okay? And that lasts for as long as you want. And then step number 7, this is where you change the selling environment. This is where you go from being just friends to hopefully becoming married. I don't know how to say that. This is where the next step, right? So this is in the process where you guys are at for us, okay? You've been buying stuff online, you've been going through these processes, and now I wanted to change the environment. How do we serve you? How do we affect you in a different way, okay? It's very, very, very difficult. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but pretty much impossible for you to sell a $25,000 program online. I can send you the best sales video in the world. I guarantee none of you guys are going to drop $25,000 on a credit card, right? I've got to change the selling environment to make that possible. Now, the ways I do that, there's a couple ways to do that. One is you do an event like this. Okay? You guys have been to those events. You bring a bunch of people in the room, you teach them, and you change the environment, and now I can easily sell you. If I was trying to pitch you guys on something this weekend, I promise you I could close you on it. I'm not going to. I don't have any plans to, but I could. Okay? You've seen this in tons of markets. They bring people, do big events, they teach, educate, and then boom, they sell them stuff. I've got a friend who sells a $100,000 package. Very first event she did, she brought in, 500 women. She did her presentation. Then she sold a $100,000 package. She had 24 people sign up for it. She turned 9 of them away. Is that crazy? Now, she couldn't have done it through email. Maybe she could. She's pretty amazing. I couldn't. But you change the selling environment, you can do all sorts of stuff. Okay? When people leave their comfort zone, they'll do all sorts of different things. What you have to understand is that people are they're sitting behind their computer all day in their comfort zone, right? That's why when you go to blogs and Facebook, people are like, they're very comfortable like yelling and cursing you out. I'm like, oh, Russell, I hate you. You're blah, 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 blah. But I guarantee they stood in front of me. They're not going to talk to me that way, right? You change the environment. You change the relationship. So you want to get your people in a different environment. Different ways to do that. One is events. Some people love events. One is on the phone, okay? A lot of different ways to do that, but changing that environment changes how you can sell that person, okay? If I'm going to go propose to a girl, I'm not going to do it through email. I'm not going to text her. I'm going to take her to a different environment. We're going to make it really special. It's going to be awesome. She's going to have a great experience, and then I'm going to pop the question. Okay? Same thing in marketing. Okay? And that is the lifeline of a lead. That make sense, you guys? Cool.